I'm Angel Cuevas. I'm from Odessa. I'm 25 years old. Nice to meet you, Sophia.
What was it like growing up there? Where did you grow up in Texas?
I grew up in, I wouldn't consider it like a Bible Belt, but I grew up in like in a very Baptist, dual city in the middle of nowhere, where both the cities combined probably have a population of like 500,000 people in the desert, like Las Vegas, but very like old school cowboy, surviving on high school football and oil that's driving the town. And I loved it. I loved my friends. I loved the home style, like the homey vibes that we had there, and the values that it gave me. It gave me a lot of family, friend values. Like stay home. You build up your community, and your community is like people who you love. You see them every day.
High school.
So for ninth grade, I moved to California after that, and I was living in Yorba Linda. I was living with my aunt, who was a banker out there.
Then you went to high school.
And I went to high school there, and I loved it. I changed as a whole nother person though. In Texas, I became very like rigorous. My music of choice, like I love Mozart. Like I was thinking, like, what did I do when I was home? Like I listened to Mozart. I played my video games in my room, and I like hung out with my friends, and we just caused trouble. Like I remember one year we lit a Christmas tree on fire in the middle of nowhere, but I used my mom's like massive truck that we would drive when we were 14, and like I would go shooting guns in like the middle of nowhere. But in New York, California was very different because you go from your natural environment of who your friends are, who you are, to being a nobody. It's like, yeah, reinvention. I went from everything to nothing, and I loved it. Because even in Texas, I felt like personally, I come to this idea that I was always like an outsider.
Why?
Because I was never Latino enough for the Latins, and I was never white enough for the whites. So my friend group consisted of like these interesting like mixed Latino white kids who were like part of this up classist society. Like I participated in everything. Like I grew up in a very like affluent lifestyle, very much well set. And so when you move to California, that changes on a whole nother level. Like money changes like from New York to LA, like Singapore. And so I did a lot of self inspection. I got a lot more involved with like surfing and like I fell in love with Bob Marley again. Like I loved Bob Marley back when I was like in 13, but then recently I got back into it, and it was great. I grew up my hair really long, really long hair. When I was living on the ranch, it was different because I used to live in the country club also. Like my town has a country club, and I used to live there, and then I moved back to the ranch. I used to go back and forth a lot, but I just love living on the ranch. As you said, like. I was also an outsider. I went going from being an insider to an outsider again. Like in my own place. So I felt that way. I was done with high school. I was checked out. So a lot of growing up on the ranch was also just like a simpler life for me. I was living there. I tend to the horses in the morning. Like if I had to mow part of the lawn next to the little pond, I would like. But I would just sit there and like you kind of sit there in the middle of nowhere with like the high heat at night, your frogs, snakes. I loved it. My cousins were always there, and it was just like it was back to childhood when like you smell the hay, you smell the horses, and like you wake up, you drive in, you drive out. Like my friends hated it. They were like, you live so far now. Like you used to live 5 minutes away from us, now you live 30 minutes away. Like, but they love.
How your family moved during the time you were.
Yeah. Oh, my family always had the ranch. My family always had a home in town also, and so when I started just to live on the ranch, it was just. It took me back to a much simpler times. I went from like gashmias, physical, materialistic things, the highest level, reducing that and refining it to California. Be like, what do I actually like? Is this a lifestyle I want? To going back into Texas, be like, oh, like I love how I grew up. I love the ranch lifestyle. I love my Texas identity because I was always just back and forth a lot, and there was just something about it. It nurtured me. It nurtured me a lot.
Really grounding.
Yeah, for sure. My clothes changed also. Like throughout the years, like my clothes would always change. Like who I was,
So you came back from California with your Vans.
I came back with like 3-inch shorts. Yeah, like surf shirts, like this long hair. It's like, all right, I wore jeans and boots now. and like that was my everyday outfit. That was like, so I used to have a secret club with my friends, and we were always like the little hood rat, hood not hood rat. It was like the Bullington Club. I don't know. We were just wealthy kids doing, just getting in trouble. I think that's what it really was. It was us like looking for trouble when we found trouble, and we loved it. But it was just safe enough to where no one really got hurt, no one really got in trouble. You know, similarly, it catches up with you. There are always consequences to everything. And my mom's like, you know what? Let's take a summer off. Let's go back. You'll visit your aunt for the summer, and you know, we'll decompress the year. I was like, you know what? That sounds good. Let's go to California. So I spent summer with California with my aunt, and the school year was coming up. My mom calls me. She goes, "What do you think about just staying there?" And I go, "This is a great idea. I love it." So my summer there was just awesome. Exploration of like Southern California when you're 16 years old. It's so fun. It's also just so new. Like I'm hanging around Balboa and Laguna Beach, and I'm just like wandering around on a skateboard. That's fun. I loved it. And then I started building up like a little social circle. You know, like I've never went to school with this, like Asians. I never had Asians in my school. It's never a thing. Like we had a couple. We had like 4 or 5 Asians in my school. Latinos, whites and Latinos. It was very much blended together. I always think back about it. I was like, going to New York and going to California. There's a huge gap between the Latinos and whites. And at least in my neighborhood, like there was the Latinos and whites were very much integrated. Like I lived in a white neighborhood, but like it just felt normal. But in New York, I'm like, oh wow, you can't live here. You want if you want to live there, you can't like unspoken rules. Like you live in like North Rockaway, and it's Irish Italians. You know, like it's just so
So it's more mixed.
very mixed. Yeah, very mixed, very integrated. Yeah, yeah. So my mom is Mexican descent with Native American. My father is lives in Mexico, Spanish descent also. So it was very like very Latino, very Spanish, very Latin American, with some Arab influence. Yeah, some Arab influence, but nothing like crazy. And then problem with it was my family was very like educational. My grandmother's like this really outgoing academic who just loves knowledge, but she loses her values in that. She's
Education, or was it more
yeah,
like
she values formal education, but it's like the idea of a communist. You know, you value the education over like religion and everything. Like my grandfather's very religious. My grandfather's very spiritual. My grandfather's like Native American. He's like half German, half Native American. And you saw the difference between how they both lived their lives.
is this on your
Mom's side. This is my mom's side. I didn't grow up with my dad's side of the family that well, so I don't understand like how my grandparents. Also, there was always a language barrier, so I never like really connected with them. But my mom's parents, like I saw how they grew up. Like my grandmother's the like intellectual of the family. You know, like my grandfather's college dropout who's an oil executive. He made it. Like he grinded. He self-made. Like he did everything. So I appreciate that. I very much connect with my grandfather more than my grandmother. My grandmother shaped who I was academically. Like the pursuit of like, oh, you should always learn. Because if not, people there'll always be misinformation in the world, and you don't know. Like, how will you be able to build coherent ideas? Yeah, I was very close to my grandfather. I lived in an open family. My family was like, do whatever you want, stay safe, but just live.
really?
Yeah,
So,
very adventurous. I was very like always adventurous. My family encouraged that. Was I raised Jewish? No, not at all. I'm Jewish, but I wasn't raised Jewish whatsoever. I grew up going to Methodist churches. My grandfather grew up in a Catholic family. We had a lot of that. We had a lot of that in the home. You know, I used to go to Sunday school with my friends because I was like, I love the Capri Suns and goldfish. I really, I loved going. My mom was like, "Why do you go?" I'm like, "They have Capri Suns and goldfish." That was a huge factor for me. Also, just growing up in it, like everyone in the town was very Catholic or Baptist, Protestant. I had no idea what it really meant, and so I started digging deeper. But for the beginning of my life, it goes back to my grandpa. I was like an atheist. I didn't believe in God. You know, I get that from my grandmother though. I don't know if my grandmother believes in God. my family never put religion on us. Never. Yeah, God was real. But my grandfather, I don't know about my grandmother so well. But I remember when I told my grandmother, I was like young. I was probably like in fourth grade. I was 8 years old. I asked my grandmother. My grandma was like, "Grandma, I think I'm an atheist." I'm like, I don't know if I believe it. I got really into like these random like college scientific books that we had, and I would just like read them. Yeah, she loved. I was like, I don't know if God could God exist in this world. Got through there, found out I was like agnostic because I was like, I don't know if I believe in the science stuff either. But we're gonna keep going. And then when I moved to California, I had a falling out with my aunt, and I ended up living with this Saudi Arabian family. There was a kid named Hussein in my school who I became best friends with. And he always lived next. He lived next door to the school. But when I moved in with him, that started pushing me more towards like Abrahamic religions again, like Islam. And I was like, what is this? I was like, let's check out Islam. I have no idea. I'm like an old Bush. My family's like an old Bush family, so they're like, oh, radical Islam. Like we hate radical Islam. I'm like, interesting. Let's check it out. What is that? Found. I figured it wasn't for me.
Why?
It goes back to a lot of things. Intellectual belief. Do I feel like this lifestyle is what fits for me? Is this for me proper? Like, could I believe in this? Could I champion this? Will I be the vanguard of it? I don't think so. I don't know. It was too many inconsistencies for me. That same thing with Christianity. But it was good.
Was that your first Muslim you met? Like,
I grew up with Muslims in Texas. We had some in school. Yeah, they ran like the grocery stores and all. There was a small population, very small, but we always had them. My grandfather worked in the oil business, so we always had like random Muslim guys over from like the Middle East. But like this sheik is over at our house right now. Like we're having a barbecue. It was just normal. Yeah, it was very interesting. I grew up very wealthy. I grew up with the accessibility to these cultures. I love that.
so after moving back to Texas, Central California, what was your next step? How did you?
My next thing was really, what am I going to do with my life? I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. Am I going to go to college? Am I not? Am I going to stay on the ranch? Am I going to work on a ranch in Wyoming? I have no idea. So I decided, you know what? Buckle down, finish high school, and I'm going to follow my best friend. My best friends were all going to be like, we're going to medical school. We don't know what you're doing, but you can come with us. Like, all right, I'll go to Texas with you guys. I'm in school in Austin. The year starts. It's another chapter of my life. I'm like, big difference, big change. What's going on? We're at a school with 50,000 people. I'm living on campus with my best friends. I have no idea what this entails. Like, let's get involved. So just the energy there, I loved it. But I think I lost a lot of what I grew up with there. It's a very liberal city. The university is very liberal, and everyone's extremely liberal to how I grew up. Unless you're like a Mormon, Muslim, and a Mennonite, like I'm like a level of that. But like that's how like I grew up in a really right wing society. And most people grew up in like Dallas, Fort Worth, New York, Miami, Chicago. Like some people are local, but even then, like these big cities didn't have like what small town I grew up with. But you adapt, you learn, you meet so many interesting people, and you have your ups and downs like everything. And I think college was a big impact for me. Especially I spent 2 years there, then COVID. I decided to take a leap of faith, follow an internship that I had in New York, like a job, and I moved to New York in the middle of COVID. So, but college was a huge fact. Like, what every college guy has is your breakups. You have your friendships that you lose, new ones that you gain. Your friends start pursuing their goals. I made the bestest friends, but I also just found out who I really was a little more. Like I started running these random organizations, like Texans for Bees, like Green Greeks, where you go around just doing like random cleanups around the streets. It was just so nice, but I loved it. I just loved like the new interesting people. I think that's where my love for people really came from. Was you see everyone what they can do, you just try to put them in the right place and let them flourish. And that's what university showed me. So I moved to New York. I was already open-minded. The world was shut down, but I wanted to break out so fast. So when I moved to New York, that was me really coming out of my shell, trying to build my professional career at this level. Let me work on myself just enough to launch myself to get to the place where I want to be. While this world, and I did that. I was there for 5 years. I left Texas when I was 20, and I left New York when I was 25. Texas was like real. Texas was a huge part of my identity, especially being part of New York. I was from Texas, but New York was stability, raw emotions. I had no idea what the world wanted, how I could benefit from it, or how I could contribute back. But I just found my place in it. Like 25 years, I did a lot. Like I worked in the art world. Like I was running an art investment fund. That was awesome. I'd never met more interesting people in my life. And I started doing real estate development when I was there. That was just like, never knew I had a passion for real estate. I loved it. I loved how active and dynamic it was. Rude. The people were nice. People were everything. There's so much things that happened in my 5 years. I can't even. I don't know if I could really delineate what was because it just flew by. Like as I've gotten older, everything just flies by like so fast. Growing up, I used to be very selfish. Like I was a taker personally. Like I wanted it all. Like I wanted the nice car, I wanted the nice house. Like I wanted the prestige. I've slowly chipped away from that. But moving back to New York, that drove it up again. College drove that up again. Like I have to have the nice cars. I have to have the nice clothes. Like, I have to have these materialistic things to show people I am this. Like flaunting. I figured that maybe it's time for me to move on. I had my time in New York, but I wasn't growing anymore. Every place I've been in my life, there was always something to continue developing from. My lifestyle's good, but it's time to make some changes. I gotta keep growing. I gotta keep moving. So when I decided to take 3 months later, I moved to Jerusalem. I working, just interning, working, and I loved it. So I was like, you know what? Let's extend it. Let's try a yeshiva, Christians and like a theological learning institute. So I tried that out for a year. Did I gain what I wanted to out of the year? No, but I gained in so many different ways. I matured. I was just as ultra orthodox Jew as I am now. The only difference was the environment. I've never lived in the Middle East. I've only lived in pretty Western American countries. And so this was a different dynamic. Being religiously Jewish is very easy outside of Israel. When you're here, the country itself there's so much happening here that it's innovative. I don't understand how the country survives. I really don't. I don't understand how anyone lives here, but they do. It just doesn't make sense to me. From financially, how do people afford to live here? What's the daily life of an Israeli like? Like what are their mindsets from? Like how do they shape different different makshavas, different outlooks in life? It feels new and healthy. The thing about it is that it's a thriving country, and even in the situation that they're in, people are young, people are innovators, they're creators, and the level of materialism here isn't as high in demand as I saw in America. You can meet the most randomest people in any situation and make friends in any conversation.
Has your definition of happiness changed?
Great. I think being content with what your goals are and where you're at with them. I think happiness comes and goes. It's always like an emotional thing that you have, but just being happy with what your goal is in life, and if you have that thought out, I think you'll have happiness from that. My happy majority of the days, yes, but of course I have the moments where I'm like feel low. You have the moments where you feel down. You could always be doing more. Just appreciate where you're at. I love that. I live for that. I live for life. I love my life. I have no idea what it means to not be comfortable in your own skin, and to not appreciate when you go outside and you see the people and you see who you are. Do you love yourself? And what can I tell people is, if you're not happy with yourself, then push yourself to the point where you'll be happy. Be proactive. I think life is like a river. You have to be constantly flowing. Still bodies of water breed sickness. If you're still and you feel like you're not growing, then continue, move on, adapt, change, be the person you want to be. That's what I like about Israel. I love the change. I love the life that people have here. Like really, like there's children running around. The teenagers are like trying to build companies. Like everyone's trying to find their place in the world. I always remember when my mom ran her own company. I remember like my mom having a bad year, like a really bad year, and I thought we were gonna lose everything. My mom's gonna go foreclosure. She's gonna sell this part of her company. When I explained my discomfort to my mom, she goes, "Why do you feel this way? Like this has nothing to do with you. You can't change any of this. It's like this is God's work. Angel, we can do whatever we want until we can't. Once the moment you can't fix this, what are you gonna do? You have to accept it. You have to move on. Do your accountings of what you have. A good life. Your family that cares about you. You are healthy, and that's all you need. Listen, thank God. I have my legs. I have my feet. A good body. I'm functioning. I don't have other struggles like most people do. I've been very privileged, but the recognition of my privilege, that was the hardest thing for me to accept. I had to accept that I grew up spoiled. I was an egotistical person, so I had to break that down as myself. I grew up in a family that were like, "Oh, you're a prince," but it took a lot of ups and downs, introspection. Do I had to look into myself, like, is this me? Is this a good character traits that I want to have?
Angel, what's a dream of yours?
I have no idea. I don't know if I have a dream anymore. My dream really isn't involving me. My dream involves other people. I think a dream of mine is like just to have a loving family, my children, and stay healthy. I dream of my kids and I dream of my wife. I have no idea who they are. People who are looking to make a difference in the world, make it better. I think there's a lot of people who want to destroy it and who look to break it down. I think if there are good people in the world. They want to see other people succeed and they want to see other people like I care about other people. I love people. It's my dream. I like to say something like my family always told me to love people. I love them. Like when you actually believe that people are made in the image of God, that before like you love people for who they are because of like their complexities and their interests is what made them who they are. The songs, the music, the art they love. I always love like the random nerds in school. I love watching the underdog take over, but I also love the villain. I love the villain's origin stories. I love a villain that's like he was never really a real villain. Like the world made him that way. It's sad. It's sad that we have to get there.
Villains are really it's their choice too.
Yeah.
You know.
What's the difference between a villain and the superhero? One just decided to make a difference with what his problems occurred with, and the other one decided that you know what, this is all that is, and I must become that.
Well, I'm always curious to know like what people really are afraid of.
What am I afraid of? My fear is withering away while I'm alive. I watched my great grandfather wither away. He had Alzheimer's. My grandfather was my great grandfather was like a rancher also. He was like a strong, calm man. He had no idea who we were anymore. That was sad. He might not remember that you love him, but you still love him. It's like you take care of a loved one. They might not remember you. Like he may not remember you. You're his son or daughter, but you know that's your father. You love them. You know who this person was, what the potential they had, and you won't forget that. Like I feel like personally, I've never made an accomplishment in the world that I'm really proud of that. I think there's always so much things I could be like a better at. I could be a better brother, be a better friend. And like, am I proud of something that I don't have power over? Like, I'm a very sociable person. I make a lot of friends, but I don't think that's because of me. Like, I think it's because like I was gifted that I had that ability, and I don't know if I can be proud of that. Like, I don't know if I'm proud of anything yet. I'm proud of my religious journey. I'm proud of my lifestyle that I've done. Like, okay, I'm proud of my life. My life is my art. I've made my life. I put my soul and heart into it. Who I am as a person. I can be better. I never reach my best self, but I'm just trying to get there. One thing I am proud of, I'll say, is having good friends. You are only as good as the people you surround yourself with. I could have picked, with being sociable, and very outgoing. You can kind of get lost in people. People are, people are great people, but they might not have attributes that benefit you. And I'm glad I found really good friends at a young age who are very successful, and I'm proud of all my friends because they have goals, they accomplish them, they're high achievers, and because of them, I was able to also become who I am now. You look for people with depth, I love that.